Okay, so welcome everyone to the Raise Hackathon 2022. And here we're going to be giving an introduction to Python for AI, and particularly today, there's a specific focus on the MSc Artificial Intelligence. So that's what we're leading towards, where the information is going to be about in some of this session and the other sessions that we're working through. Okay. So, by way of introduction, I'm Dr. Ian Rice. And I'll introduce myself in more detail in a second, but I'm going to be leading the hack this week, and we're also joined by Mariam. So Dr. Mariam Adedoyin-Olowe, who's going to be introducing herself in a second as well. And we're in charge of this hackathon and of the MSc Artificial Intelligence at BCU. Okay. In terms of background, I always find it helpful to just give a brief explainer about myself, so that you can know more about me, whether you come onto the course or not, but just to understand where the focus of what we're doing this week has come from. So I originally did a maths and business degree at Aston University. I did a year in accountancy and industry and set myself up on a very clear trajectory to become an accountant. And I did a year in accountancy, and I absolutely hated accountancy at the end of that year. So no offense to any accountants or people who like accountancy, numbers, finance, all that stuff. I just got very bored of counting other people's money. So what I really wanted to do was find a job doing maths all the time. And lots of people, when I told that to them, they said, those jobs don't exist. You can't get a job where you just do maths. So I found a job just doing maths. So I did a PhD in applied mathematics, working with a defense company called Thales. So Thales Underwater Systems. They design systems, technology, engineering applications for sonar systems and underwater environments. So I was working with data from submarines and from ships and trying to analyze all the complex things that were going around underwater. See, underwater, you can't look around and see what's around you. You really rely on these sonar systems to give a picture of what's going on. And that picture could tell you about the fish or the topography, the rocks and all the things that are around you. It could tell you about if there's oil drilling happening nearby. It could tell you if there's an enemy target submarine nearby that you're trying to track. So I created tools, systems, algorithms, AI, in essence, all those complex things, bundle them all together so that people interpreting sonar data could have a much clearer understanding of what they were trying to do, what they were seeing, and trying to identify any risks or targets and things that they needed to be wary of. So I did that for 3 years, got my PhD, decided I didn't want to work in the defense industry anymore and wanted to jump out of that. So I jumped straight out of defense into healthcare, which was a nice spin. But funnily enough, most of the things in AI and with maths as well translate very easily, actually. So the same things that I was using, tools, techniques for finding enemy submarines and ships and then trying to declutter fish and whale song and things out of sensor data, actually those worked exactly the same in a hospital setting. So I did a postdoctoral research position in smart health, in essence. So I worked with Birmingham Children's Hospital, and I was trying to predict which children on 2 wards there were getting better and which children were getting more sick or likely to die, and feeding these advanced predictions through to doctors. I'm going to cover this in a lot more detail later on with some examples from that for everyone, so that I can show you what it actually looked like, what we were actually doing, and how data projects actually work for us. So after I'd done that postdoctoral research position, I decided I wanted to be in academia and I wanted to teach, but I needed to fluff up my teaching experience. So I went to Arden University, who are predominantly a distance learning institution, and I started off as a teaching fellow there, so teaching data analytics at the master's level and at undergraduate level as well. So I did a few years of that and got quite good at course management and leading. So I got promoted and promoted again to where I ended up being the head of school for computing and IT at Arden University. I then found myself doing an awful lot of academic management and no research and teaching, and I wanted to flip that around. So I took a break, joined BCU 2.5 years ago now as a senior lecturer, and have been promoted to an associate professor in artificial intelligence. My day job is, in essence, managing and running the MSc Artificial Intelligence, which we're going to be talking about in more detail today. On top of that, I also am in charge of the computing common first year, so any computing program pretty much at BCU we have the same or similar-ish first year that they study in terms of their taught modules and all the activities and things. So I'm in charge of all of that. I've got some research projects and PhD students and other things to fill my time as well. Any sort of fun industry meetings or meetings with companies where they need some AI solution or a research project setting up, I'm there. And that's pretty much my day job. So I'll hand over to Mariam so you can introduce yourself.
Thank you, Ian, and thanks everyone for joining this morning. So my name is Miriam Adedonyalowe. I am from Nigeria, and I've been in the UK for about 12 years now. I studied my undergraduate from University of Portsmouth where I did computing and graduated with a first class. So I went on to do a PhD. So I didn't do masters because, of course, when you get a first class in UK university, you can go on to do PhD. So I started my PhD at University of Portsmouth, but my supervisor and I had to transfer to Robert Gordon University in Aberdeen, Scotland, when he got a better job. So I went with him to Scotland, where I finished my PhD in 2015. I went back to Nigeria and I worked as a lecturer at Bells University of Technology. There and then I was able to teach masters and undergraduate job, but most often than not, I was teaching masters and I was supervising masters project. As well as teaching master's project, I was also the chair and the convener of the Bells University Advanced Center. And this is a center that interfaces between the industry and the university. It was a very interesting job, but I didn't get to do it for a long time before I came back to the United Kingdom. I feel more comfortable at the university in the United Kingdom. So I got a job at BCU in 2017. I was an assistant lecturer for 2 years and I was promoted to lecturer job in 2020 before the COVID struck. And I've been a lecturer in data analytics. I'm the deputy course lead on this the artificial intelligence master's conversion course. Apart from being the deputy lead where I support Ian in this role, I'm also the coordinator of all the master's projects in the School of Computing of a BCU. This is a lot of job. You have to coordinate all the master's project, but interesting because I get to see a lot of people and know a lot of names from different parts of the world. I am also a module lead for both Introduction to Data Science, and I have been a module lead for Data Intelligence. So pretty much data analytics course modules. And apart from my work at BCU, I'm also a student mentor. I am passionate about students and student progression. So I'm a student mentor. I'm a lead mentor for a company called Inside Mentors and Educational Services in Nigeria. But apart from doing that in Nigeria, I do most of my work in the UK where I mentor students and make sure that they aim high and succeed in their academic pursuit. So pretty much that is me. And apart from all that academic stuff, I'm a mother. I have 2 teenage children, boy or girl. So yes, that gets my hands very full as well. So thank you very much, Ian. Go back to you.
Thanks, Mariam. So now that we've introduced us, it's worth us spending a bit of time introducing this hackathon that you've all signed up to. And I appreciate lots of people have all sorts of things going on this week. We can't just expect you all to drop everything in life and then attend for a whole week. So there is flexibility built in here. But I just want to introduce what we're going to be covering in detail, really. So first of all, we're going to give a background on the artificial intelligence course, which is why most of you were targeted with coming along to this hackathon. For those of you who aren't interested in that, you can switch off, go and grab a drink if you want, but you might be interested to hear what we're doing in terms of the AI course that we're really very proud of, Mariam and I. There's going to be some aspects of exploratory data analysis that we're going to cover in this week, and then there's lots of material we've drawn from the IBM Open Data Science for All course. So there's sets of slides and some lab activities that are going to introduce some of the concepts of AI and computing to people who just might not have any experience whatsoever in terms of programming, in terms of artificial intelligence or computing. Okay, and though you're our target market really for the course, it is a conversion course after all. And then there's the actual hack. So we're going to provide you with a data set, put you in teams, give you an individual Teams link so that you can all have your own separate calls, mentor and support you through that. And then you're going to produce something at the end of that, a few slides that are going to tell a story about what work you've done over that hack. And that's going to be judged by the judging panel on Friday, and then the winning team will receive a prize. And I'll talk about that on Wednesday in particular. So the general structure looks a bit like this at the moment. So we've got an introduction to BCU, and then we're going to take a little break, and I'm going to give a little talk called AI for Good, which has been shared a couple of times in different avenues, but I think it really sets the scene for AI in general and for this week. Then this afternoon, there's going to be a session on the basics of data, Python, and information, which Aisha is going to be providing to us. So then tomorrow, that's going to take us through to about 2-3 o'clock, and I'll show the detailed breakdown in a minute. We're going to be looking at data cleaning and data wrangling tomorrow with Hamayu. Data modeling and data types and algorithms as well. It's going to be covered tomorrow, late morning and in the afternoon as well, by Salama and by Luke. On day 3, we're going to be looking at some exploratory data analysis that Aisha is going to cover with you again. And then Besh is going to introduce machine learning, things like regression and classification, some of the more complex terms that you might not have heard of before, but don't panic. Besh is absolutely brilliant and one of the best in our team at explaining these concepts to you, to be able to show you how to do them. And then you'll be using some of these tools and techniques that we covered in these sessions to start with for the first half of the week on the hack. So then on Wednesday afternoon, I'll introduce this hack concept, this idea where we're going to put you in these teams at random. We're going to provide you with data and going to set you off, and off you go. The submissions will be due in on Friday, and I'll explain exactly what I'm looking for on Wednesday. It's not going to be a detailed 1,000-page report, nothing too academic like that, so don't worry. Whilst we're judging that, Luke is going to be talking to you about ethics in AI, and then we'll announce the winners on Friday afternoon. Now, there is plenty of time throughout the session to ask your questions, but in particular, there's going to be some at the end of each of the sessions and at the end of each day to just ask any questions that you've got. So of myself, of whoever's running those sessions, we're all very happy to try and support you in any way in any questions that you've got. Okay, so please don't leave here with any questions unanswered. Okay, and you really can ask us anything, whether through the chat, whether via email. So you can see our email addresses if you go to the attendees or the people in this and then hover over our names or our pictures, and then you can get in touch with us at any point. There's also a general email which you've been copied into as well with the msc-ai@bcu.ac.uk. So if we look in more detail at what we're looking to do this week, and we'll just break this down by hours then. So we've generally got some flexible timelines, but we're roughly working to about 10 till 11:30 for a morning part, 11:30 till about 1 o'clock. Then we'll break for lunch from 1 till 2. Have a 2 till 3 session, and then 3 till 4 a more lighter session there. Where we've got, as I said, to start with today, the introduction and the AI for Good presentation by myself and Mariam to start with, and then Aisha's going to cover off the basis of data and Python. And then at that point, there's going to be plenty of time to ask any questions of Aisha, of myself as well. And if you need to know anything or have any queries, after that, there's just a video that we're going to share, which is a video recorded by a man called Armin Pestoshian, who's an excellent AI researcher and has been working in the field for decades. But he sets the landscape of AI from an introductory point of view in an absolutely brilliant way. So it's about an hour long. So it's just, we'll provide you with a link, and just at some point over this week if you want to, but we've made time specifically for it today to just sit and watch that and to just try and soak in some of that terminology that he's using, the words, the way that he's describing things, the way that AI is used, all of those aspects. Okay, and each day we'll go through what's going to be covered in detail. If there's more interest in certain subjects or topics and things, then we need to know. If you've got specific questions about how AI is used to solve this problem, to do this, to do that, we're more than happy to try and explain that. But likewise, we're also very happy to explain that on the course in a lot more detail too. But it just gives us a good idea if you want to know about something in particular. So if we talk first of all about the AI course in particular, lots of people will have seen the advertisements from the Office for Students, in particular for the scholarships. Now we are partnered with the OFS, the Office for Students from the UK here for this course. And there's sort of two aspects to that partnership. One aspect is the scholarships. So for female, black and disabled learners, and at BCU there's an additional restriction that applicants must be from the UK or UK national in order to qualify for that. So I appreciate that's very disappointing for people joining from an international domain. It is part of the BCU mission to try and attract, to reach and to build skills and employability within the West Midlands and within Birmingham in particular. So that's why that is that additional restriction. And I've been told there's really not any flexibility on that. So you have to be a UK or home applicant to be able to qualify. But we are very passionate about seeing female, black and disabled people joining our course. So that's one part of our partnership with the Office for Students. The other part is a whole host of additional funding that they've given to Birmingham City University as part of our partnership to set up events like this. So to run this hackathon, this is the third consecutive hackathon we've run. We've run one 2 years ago, 1 year ago, and in this year, and we've tried to finesse how we do this, where we do some of the basic teaching and things that will make people more comfortable going into the course in September. On top of that, they helped us run taster sessions. They helped us run this co-curriculum design process, which I'll introduce in a second. And they generally check up on us and put us in touch with all the other universities running conversion courses like we are. So it's also all sorts of different things that we're working together as part of this partnership with the Office of Students. Now, it's called a RAISE Hackathon because we're part of the RAISE team, and RAISE is the partnership team from BCU that's partnered with the Office for Students. RAISE stands for Raising Artificial Intelligence Skills and Employability. The principal investigator, or the lead person in charge of RAISE, is called Dr. Atif Azad. He's an associate professor as well. He's currently taking some very well-earned leave at the moment, and I believe he's currently on a plane flying to the other end of the world. So Atif will be introduced to you later on in September, October time, once people enroll in the course, once we get started. So I'm a co-investigator, as almost like a deputy in charge of the RAISE project. So RAISE set up the MSc Artificial Intelligence, manages the scholarships, manages these activities, but also gets involved in lots of other things within BCU. It's about raising those employability skills and AI skills and confidence in people. The aim, broadly speaking, was to produce over 90 professionals who are skilled in AI, and in reality we want to produce as many people as possible who have those core data and artificial intelligence skills to go out and help to change the world. We had a second aim, which was to create an amazing curriculum, and we wanted to co-create that. Often when we set up courses as universities, we try and think about what kind of course people want to do a bit of market research. Then as academics say, well, what's most important for doing that course? If we wanted to set up a course in basket weaving, I'd go out and see if there was a big market for people who wanted to learn how to do basket weaving. And then I'd come up with 12 modules, which all looked like they would be important aspects for teaching basket weaving. You know, how to market baskets, how to get the resources, how to design them, how to sell them, finance, all of these different aspects. So I would set all of these things up as modules, and then they'd go out to people and people could enroll. We didn't do that with this AI course. We actually went through a much more rigorous process where myself, Mariam, lots of the other academics at BCU, we sat in a room, we argued a lot, and we thought these are the most important things that we have to teach people coming onto this course. And these are done in an approachable way for people doing conversion. We then didn't just create those modules, we put them all into boxes and we tried to explain them to ourselves and make sure we were comfortable with them. We then went out to potential students and current students at BCU. We went out to other academics inside and outside of BCU. We went out to companies as well. So some of the big tech giants like Microsoft, Amazon, IBM, all looked at our curriculum and approved it. And beyond that, we went to other companies as well outside and said, would you employ the graduates from this course? And every one of them said yes. So we went through and had what we thought was our original curriculum, which was a bit like this, and has expanded and morphed and shaped out based upon the experiences and the recommendations of lots of different people. And we believe that we have an amazing curriculum. And hopefully by the time you've met some of the teaching team throughout this hackathon and in September, you'd agree with us. Beyond what we aim to do, we've actually achieved quite a lot as the RAISE team as well. So in particular, one mini project that we've run was to assess statistics and data skills anxiety in non-cognate learners at BCU. So we went out to look at how stats and data skills are taught to people who are outside of computing. That's what we mean by non-cognate. So people who aren't doing a stats degree or a data-based degree. So psychology students, criminology students, engineering students went out to these people, and business students and finance students, and said, how are you taught stats? How are you taught data skills? What works and what doesn't work? Because we want to make sure that we understand from their perspective so that we can learn for our own teaching on this conversion course. But in particular, need to see what was working so that we can share good practice at BCU. And we found out a lot of really interesting insights into the statistics anxiety that people have and ways that we can try and combat that. And we're trying to mold those things into our own course to make sure that any anxieties you might have about the statistics or the programming or anything at BCU, that we can try and make sure that we limit those. We're also recently awarded the BCU Team of the Year Award for 2022, which we're really very proud of. So I think the big question that might be on people's lips is, what am I doing here? So we've got a course that's specifically targeted to reach female, Black and disabled learners. I don't fit any of those criteria, in honesty, and I am part of the problem with AI at the moment. There is a massive gender, ethnicity and experiential imbalance in artificial intelligence and in data-based organizations in the world. That's causing rampant problems with access, with equality, with discrimination that's happening in every different possible way. These things are being perpetuated by people, unfortunately, who look a bit like me. So there are far too many white men in artificial intelligence, and I want to put a stop to that in particular. So if I'm not part of the solution, then I'm part of the problem. So I definitely wanted to be part of this solution here at BCU. That's why I'm working with Mariam and the team here to try and make sure that we can correct this and reach out there. So I wanted to talk briefly about the course that we run, the MSc Artificial Intelligence. Now we've got some pictures here of people who were on the teaching team last year. The course is growing quite a lot and we're getting a lot of interest. So it may be that the teaching team grows to suit. And also some of these people are doing absolutely world-leading cutting research at the moment. So we need to make sure that we give them the time to do that research rather than just dominating their time with teaching on a course, full time. So our course starts off before you even enroll, before you even turn up, and we're going to be sending everyone links to this IBM Python for Data Science free online course that you could do after the hackathon. That'll just be a bit more basic programming and basic understanding of how you do some of those data things, so that when you come in September, you're not writing your first line of code with us in a computer lab where you might be anxious about it, surrounded by everyone else. And we completely get that anxiety. Okay. So you'll get that link sent, it's absolutely free. You can do it whenever you want to in advance. I just highly recommend that people take part in that. This course uses a block delivery teaching mechanism. Okay, if you've seen the course material online and the information in the videos there, you're probably, I'm going to be repeating some of those things, but I just want to cover some of the ground aspects of this. So block delivery teaching means we teach one module at a time. None of this 3 modules, multiple assessments, trying to juggle different things and focus on all of that. One module at a time for 1 month. So you do 4 weeks on a module and then you move on and then you move on. We don't do different modules looking at entirely different things either. We're going to teach you a core set of skills in one module and then we're going to build on it and build and build. Okay, so there's constant progression that we've got going on there. And that's why you see these arrows just folding from one to the next to the next. So you'll know what you're doing at any time and moving through the course. Okay, we'll start with computing for AI. So for those of you who don't have a really strong computer science background or aren't comfortable with programming, this is the perfect module to get started with. Okay, we're going to go over the foundations of programming, the foundations of computing, talk about things like databases that you might have heard of, talk about Python, talk about all these different aspects and all the things that you're going to need so that you can confidently go into the later modules and write code to solve problems. Because you're going to need to learn to do programming for working as a data scientist or using AI effectively after you graduate. So we've got that computing for AI module, and that's going to be assessed and taught by Salama, who we've got a picture of here. The assessment involves some blogs, some lab activities. There's lots of different aspects that make up that assessment so that you can build up your portfolio quite quickly and get comfortable with all of those aspects. We try wherever possible to do all of the assessments within the module, or is to start them so that they're due in just after the module finishes. Okay, so you're learning very quickly, rapid pace of teaching, but we will assess you at the same time. So you're not just doing a module and then getting assessed in it 12, 20 weeks later or anything like that. It's all instant work. Once you've got comfortable with programming, we're going to move on to data visualization that was taught this year by Usama. Now, data visualization isn't just generating a couple of charts and plots and looking at stuff. It's about properly designing and thinking about how the audience is going to receive the message that you need to tell. So what's the story from that data? Okay. There's a lot of work and history that's gone into proper user experience design. So for the month of October, those 4 weeks, that's the whole sole focus there. So thinking about data visualization, plotting, charting, who your audience is going to be, how you're going to think about that as an editor of the data, and how you're going to dashboard that as well. You might have heard of things like Tableau or just general data dashboards and charts and things, where you join them all together and use those in your industry, in business, or in your organizations. So we're going to be teaching you all about how to do that effectively. And there's going to be some different aspects. Well, there'll be some Tableau possibly, there'll be some Click, there'll be lots of different things that are shown in that module. Once you can visualize and chart data properly, you can have some confidence in everything else that you do in the course. Lots of other courses put data visualization at the end as an afterthought, but I think it's a fundamental thing that you need to be able to look at the data that you're dealing with and be able to manage that with confidence, so that when you move on to the machine learning module and the other AI modules that are more complicated, you've got that confidence in what you're doing, because no matter what, you can plot the data and see what's going on. Okay, so that with the data visualization, there's a group dashboard creation aspect there, and then a critical review of each other's dashboards as well. So you're going to be working in teams there. Then we've got machine learning that's going to be led by Besha, and he's going to be teaching this session as an intro to that on Wednesday. So machine learning is all about taking data and getting your machines and artificial intelligence tools and techniques to try and get some understanding from that. Okay, I don't want to go too much into detail of the different fine details and aspects of that, because I think Besha will introduce that in a far better, more appropriate time there. Okay, and the assessment for that is for you to just go and get a data set and dig into it, to be able to use the machine learning tools and techniques that we teach you to be able to tell the story of that. That will be the first semester. Our second semester starts in January, and this module was originally taught by Hansi and Applied AI. Okay, this is where we hit the cutting edge of how AI is used in the real world. So we're going to teach you a different focus point in each of the 4 weeks of this module. So in Applied AI, we're going to teach you first of all about time series. So being able to look at stock prices or any data that changes with time. I've got some hospital data that we've got, engineering data, all sorts of things. Okay, so each of these aspects we're going to spend a week on time series to start with, text and understanding text and words, images and how you decode and encode those and get the computer to process those. And then we're going to spend a week looking at something called deep learning as a primer for the next module. Now, deep learning is what most people in AI are currently using as the cutting edge of tools and techniques. It's what Google is building into everything they're doing. It's what Microsoft is using all over the place. This transcription service that you can see the words that I'm saying, if you've got that switched on at the side there, you'll be able to see that is all based upon deep learning and created by Microsoft for that purpose. So Applied AI and deep learning are tied modules, and that the deep learning module that you cover teaches those 4 core concepts. So we're going to look again at time series, again at natural language and text, again at images, and a task called reinforcement learning there. So there's 4 weeks on 4 different core topics of AI, similar to the Applied AI module, but now using deep learning models. So you get a whole focus of that for the module, and that was taught by Zakaria. And the final module is a sort of a review aspect of that, and Luke is going to be teaching that. So that's called the impact of AI, where we look at what we've learned across the whole course so far. Think about implementation of AI systems and where they're going to be useful, what the actual impact of them is going to be. We look at horizon scanning, so seeing not just what AI can do now, what's it going to do in a few years' time, 5, 10, 15 years, where are we going with that? And how do you assess whether or not something is, you know, the new trend, the new thing in AI, and it's going to be everywhere, or if it's just, you know, one of these big tech giants saying that they can save the world and actually they can't do anything with it. We're also going to look in detail at ethics there, And half of the assessment marks for that Impact of AI module come from an ethical debate that you'll have in groups. After that Impact of AI module with Luke, there's the project, and we're going to go into more detail and some examples of that. So the project is worth 3 modules at the master's level, so it's far more meaty than an undergraduate dissertation work, which is worth typically 2. Okay, this is a really big undertaking, and there's some really cool projects that we do with our students, and we've got a slide in a second that Mariam and I are going to talk through on some examples of those. So you'll do that from, really you can start scoping that out in April, but formally it starts in June and then runs through till September. So that'll have the full Viva, several thousand-word dissertation, project proposal aspects and all of that going on. And then some of you are on the registered for the MSc Artificial Intelligence with Professional Placement route. Now, if you aren't, you don't have to worry, you'll graduate after that September, and you'll graduate with the skills you need to go and get yourself an internship, a job, a new career. Those of you who are registered on the version of the placement, then you'll start in September trying to find and working with an internship with a company, getting some experience, and it's down to you ultimately to find that, but we do have a list of partner companies and people who are happy to take on interns and to give you the experience there as in terms of a placement. So we manage that a bit like an undergraduate placement year, but it's much shorter. So that's the general course structure that we have. I'm going to hand over to Mariam, because Mariam has run the MSc projects for quite some time, to just talk through sort of the destinations that people have gone to after we've been teaching them all of these different modules and aspects there.
Thank you very much, Ian. And yes, let's go on to the master's project. Like Ian said, master's project is compulsory for all students across board. So you will need to create this massive piece of report after you've gone through all the other modules that you have completed from September up until May. So the master's project, you are going to be completing a 60 credit unit, and you have different topics that we will pitch to you. We have a different colleagues that are researchers, and they have wonderful and fantastic topics in AI that you can key into and complete. And for some of you who are coming from the from industry, some of you come with a passion for a particular project that you want to complete at the end of your AI master's course. That's fine, as long as you can pitch this to your supervisor and they see a prospect in it. You can go ahead and do a project that you are interested in. Some of the project that is already currently available at BCU right now is text-based geolocation prediction for Twitter using AI models. For now, I have a student that is actually completing this project. It's a very interesting project. It's a very interesting topic. We all know that social media has become part of our lives, and we cannot do without social media, even though the data you generate from social media are unstructured. That's what makes it even more interesting for us to analyze and get insight into what is happening on social media. So this particular topic gives you the opportunity to be able to detect the location of a user, the tweeter, who is tweeting at that point in time. You want to be able to locate that tweet, the Twitter user, and use their either sentiment or what they are tweeting to make useful decision. If you're an organization, be it business organization or even educational organization like BCU. So if people are tweeting from a particular geolocation, then you begin to look towards that location and see what exactly the kind of tweet that is coming from there. So you use it to predict the future. For example, this AI course, this topic is going to be very, very important for us to be able to see which area the student or prospective student are tweeting from, and we want to see how we can go to that location and do recruitment in the future. Secondly, we have the 3D visualization system for ultra scan ultrasound images. This opportunity gives you the deep learning that Ian has talked about in previous slides. It gives you opportunity to visualize 3D images system in order for you to see the integral part of these images and make decision based on that. Things that cannot be ordinarily visible in a 2D space. When you do the 3D dimension, you begin to see the internal part, for example, the MRI scan, where you're able to slice into images and look into what is exactly happening within that image rather than the surface presentation of that image. Thirdly, we have detection and tracking involvement of events on social media using AI technique. What does this mean? Of course, we all know what is going on in our world today. We have different events that are going on around the world. And some people, you want to follow through that event. So you detect a particular event, which is newsworthy, which is very, very integral, that you want to track that event over time. We can do this by using AI technique. For example, you can use technique like association rule mining to see how different events can be related and how you can use that relation to determine what is going to happen next or how different events could be corroborated. For example, in the United Kingdom, right now there is a change in button for the Prime Minister. And because of this, the Conservative Party have to choose another leader, which subsequently become the PM of the United Kingdom. So all of this is happening. And while this is going on, something else might just crop up. And when that crop up and is relating, you want to see how you can relate that to what is going on in Conservative Party at the moment. So different things are going on, but you are using AI technique to see how those things relate. Rather than you looking at a straight line, you are able to deviate from side to side in order to bring different activity together and make useful decision support through that. And of course, this makes our social media platform very, very important. A platform like Twitter has been used over time to disseminate information, and as well, it becomes where researchers in AI want to look into when they are trying to look at dictate and track events, how they evolve over time on Twitter. So all of these and much more is what you will be doing on your project, master's project, which goes from June to September. And within that period, you're going to be doing a proposal. The proposal will enable you to see your supervisor will look at your proposal and see how viable it is and help you to structure where necessary so that by the time you're writing your dissertation, which is 12,000 words, you have been able to form a very robust research, you do some implementation and you get results. And all of these has really helped our students to get jobs, especially for those who go out to do placement. So they learn, they incorporate what they have learned on the course when they go for placement. And by the time they come back, they are well versed and they are able to submit a very, very strong application for jobs, maybe to the same organization or to similar organizations. So projects, your master's project is what you have to watch out from, and there are supervisors that are experts in the field that will be able to support you throughout your master's project. Yeah, thanks, Ian.
Thanks. So there's just one more thing. So I've added as well to here. So we have a slightly different route as well for master's projects than other universities might have, or we advertise it in a different way. And that's the opportunity for people to do what we call an industrial project. There we have far less of these available, and it's all time dependent on a situation. But it is entirely possible if you're working for a company at the moment, or if you wanted to, and we had the opportunity for you to do a master's project relating to a specific organization. And that might seem a bit far-fetched at first, but you might think, oh, I couldn't do anything for my company with AI, with data, but you might be wrong. So I've got 3 examples here that I just wanted to briefly give an overview of, where people from this course have previously worked on. So the first one I've got here was about simulating the impact of opening a new store as a business decision. So this student worked at a high street technology company, which is across the country in the UK, all over the place. And they open stores, they close stores when they're not profitable, and they need to work out when to do that. So we built a what we call a probabilistic graphical model. So used some stats, some AI, and some machine learning all together, and created a way for that company, which is a multi-million-pound company, to decide whether or not they should open a store in this city or that town, whether they were going to make more money, and to try and take into account that there's some uncertainty in there about how many customers you might get, what those customers might buy, what the demographics of the region is, and what it might cost you in terms of energy and for the rent for the property. The next one I want to talk to you about was a really interesting project from last year, where one of the learners has now used this project and now got a job in the Ministry of Justice, actually, after graduating. So she was using what's called APIs. In a sense, it's just a way of getting your computer and your AI system to talk and get data from somewhere else. So she was using that and natural language understanding, so text analysis, to create an AI assistant in UK prisons to reduce reoffending via employment. So she was looking at the academic background and skills and qualifications and experiences that people inside prisons currently have, and trying to recommend jobs and package that all up together in terms of mental well-being, and giving them a way and a path to develop themselves in their own careers, their skills, so that they get a job. And if you get a job when you come out of prison, you're far less likely, in terms of a stable job, far less likely to reoffend and to go back into prison. The job can be that, and family ties are 2 of the things that can be most influential in people not going back into prison and not reoffending. So that was a really interesting project, and that's being carried on and expanded next year. We're going to be hosting more projects of that vein as well, in terms of building the AI assistant in far more. The third one was a bit of an unusual one. So I got approached by a company, and they said, we've heard we need AI to come and solve this data problem for us. What they actually did was they were business consultants that were experts in change management. So when a company is going through a change project and they're currently changing their IT system or the way that they work entirely, or moving their offices all over the place, all of these things are big changes to an organization. And 80% of change projects fail massively and have a big impact on staff. People resign or get really dissatisfied and far less productive. The systems don't work 100% of the time at all. The technology breaks, or the leadership think it's going to work, or it solves a problem that it actually doesn't solve at all. So these guys were experts in assessing whether or not a company was ready to do that change project. So they had a bit of data, and they thought they needed an AI solution. What they actually needed was a data understanding solution. So I'm just going to hit refresh here, and this is an example of the system that one of our students created for them, and he got a job offer afterwards to go and potentially work for them. So we've got an example here of a company that's been analysed as being 87% ready for change, and he put together all of these interactive systems and graphs and plots and data exploration and data storytelling aspects, so that we could visually explain what all of the data in the background was telling us. And we've got some really interesting insights there that are now being used by this company to try and tell the story of each of the different companies they were asked to look at and investigate, so they can find out where the strengths are, but also find out where the weaknesses are. And we've got an example here where one of the worst answered areas by staff when they were surveyed was that whether or not they felt afraid of making mistakes, and actually a very large proportion of those, 22, disagreed with that statement, and a further 3 strongly disagreed. So 25 people in this organisation, okay, well over 20%, said that they didn't feel comfortable about making mistakes, and they were actually afraid of making mistakes in their work. Okay, which just isn't, that's a toxic workplace. Although it looks like a small percentage, that's really bad for those employees on a day-to-day basis. So they go and find things like this out about the organisation, go back and tell them and say, these are the things you need to work on. So we created plenty of different charts to tell the story of this. And there's a lot of insights in there, but it's more than just bar graphs for them. From the data visualization module, you'll learn how to create dashboards and systems like this that are entirely adaptive, where you can just move things around, get different insights to what's going on. We'll use donut charts and things, And then we'll go into slightly more complex data representations like Sankey diagrams, and I'll leave it for the data visualization module to explain what these are telling you furthermore. We can also tell you about the alignment, so which departments are similar to one another, just through some simple data analysis, but more about the visual explanation of what's going on. Okay. Creating a software system like this would have earned the student a graduate job. As I said, he got offered the graduate job. He's decided to go a different way and he's got a bright future ahead of him. And I'm currently working with this company to take this to the next stage, at how we can automate processes more and make it easier for them to help support change in other organizations. So the next thing to talk about, as far as the course is concerned, is the timetable. And we get a lot of questions about this in advance, so I've tried to respond as emails have come into me, but just to make sure it's clear for everyone. Now, we teach, as I said earlier, we teach one module per month. So 4 weeks on a module, then you move on to the next, then you move on to the next. So you're seeing the same teaching team for 4 weeks, and then it moves on to the next module leader and teaching team, and the next one. Okay. Now, there are some common threads here, which I didn't cover in detail before. So at the last year, we've been very fortunate to have Doa supporting the whole course. So has been attending and running labs and helping support the teaching, Doa down here, throughout the whole year of the course. So she's the common thread, as well as myself and Mariam as the course leaders from an oversight point of view. But Doa has been actually teaching on every single module, and the students have found that imperative to the success really over the course. I'll be looking for Doa to be doing that over the next year as well. So we teach 2 days per week. Because we're trying to set up this conversion course, we wanted to make sure it was accessible to our target market for the people who've got caring responsibilities, issues with attending, 2 hours here, 4 hours there, and 3 hours on a Friday. Those things just don't work if you've got, a family or other caring responsibilities to manage, or trying to juggle lots of other things outside of university life. We completely get that. So we have 2 days of on-campus teaching, and the plan is for those to be Tuesdays and Thursdays. Now, that's not 100% that it's going to be those, but it is very likely. Okay, it's very likely that it won't change from those. And we'll make that time up with a lecture in the morning in a big lecture room with everyone all together, and then labs where we split people off into the different groups for those lab activities in the from 11 till 12. There'll be a lunch break, and then 1 till 3. So we finish our on-campus teaching. The labs will be in BCU, our Millennium Point campus, and hopefully in Steam House as well. So our new multi-million-pound building that's just opening at the moment, which has shiny new technology and would be great fun if we can get some of our labs and things scheduled in there. It's looking like, but our Millennium Point campus is still very nice and suitable for all the things that we're teaching. So we've got 2 days of on-campus teaching. Outside of that, we're going to give you a whole load of activities and stuff that you can do to keep up and to make sure that you're progressing well. Okay. Now, it's going to be down to you how much time you dedicate to this, whether you go ahead and do the exercises from 3 till 5 or in the evenings or on the weekend. We don't mind how you want to juggle your studies around other things that are going on at the moment. But just to make sure that you try and keep up, you have to make sure you're attending regularly, and you have to make sure that you're doing what you're asked in terms of the assignments. Everything on top of that, obviously, is going to make you propel you towards the higher grades and to make you more likely to get that graduate job when you do. So it's going to be down to you ultimately to do this self-study, to do these exercises, this extracurricular activities and things. We're going to point things to you and say, although we're doing computing for AI in terms of our module 1, there's some really great database or other computing aspects that you need to potentially be aware of. It's down to you to go and research them, to look into them, to work as a group, and to find people who are interested in the same things as you. We have a Microsoft Teams channel specifically for this course, and in that there's just loads of interesting stuff that gets posted by myself and by the teaching team and by some of the students as well on the course. So those learners, whenever they're reading something, blogs that are interesting, seeing a video or something that's really cool where someone's used AI to create music, or one example that I'll share with you at the induction stage, AI that's potentially brought someone back from the dead in terms of a visual representation and a video of them telling a story being used for political messaging in the US. So each of these aspects are extracurricular. You're not going to be assessed on them. They're not going to form part of the lecture, but they're all about AI and you building up yourself as an AI specialist. Now, there will be assignment support and assignment preparation things scheduled throughout the weeks, but they're done ad hoc by the module leader, so they won't be specific times necessarily. So that's our teaching timetable. Let's see, yeah, Alireza, you've asked where should you find out about the place? When it comes to September, you'll be told exactly where it will be, but both Steam House and Millennium Point are at the same location in Birmingham, okay, in the city centre. Now, as far as the course graduating side goes, there are 3 possible exit routes that we have, that we advertise, and it is really down to you where you end up. We're going to do whatever we can to prepare you for that, do some employability work with you as well, even some of those mundane things like let's have a look and talk about CVs and about LinkedIn profiles and stuff. Because if you haven't got one in terms of LinkedIn and haven't got a CV, you need to have one to make sure you're getting a good graduate job. Okay, so we're going to do some of that work with you. Some of it will be optional, some of it we're going to form into those main teaching sessions because it's so important to get done right. Now, there are 3 exit routes that we've designed for this course, and it is up to you which of these you choose, and we'll support you no matter where you want to go. Now, you can become a data scientist as an entry-level job. Okay, you're graduating from this conversion course with a master's in artificial intelligence. So you can go from there and become a data scientist, become a data analyst, become one of those business analysts, something that's analyzing or using data science on data for an external organization. Okay, you will absolutely have the tools, the skills, and the proficiencies to do that at an entry level, so the graduate level and graduate routes and things like that. The next option you have is about further study and research, and Doa's just about to post another forms poll in the chat there for you all to fill in, because we're always curious on what people's visions are and aims are. This course has a massively high proportion of people going into it who express an interest in doing further research or a PhD. Far more than any course that I've ever looked at the master's level, which is great for me to see that people are so interested looking forwards, but also, and we don't see this as a negative really, but by the time people go through the course, they realize actually you could do a PhD and there are lots of benefits to doing that, but actually sometimes you just find something that's so interesting in it, you just want to do that as a job, the perfect job comes along, and lots of our graduates go on to just go and do that rather than enlisting in further study. The final thing, which for a conversion is often seen as a failure, but we absolutely see it as a strength here with our course, is about returning to industry, so returning back to your previous field, but with all of the analysis and AI skills that you've learned on the course. Okay, so we've had people join this course who were teachers previously, who worked in engineering disciplines, who worked in design disciplines. You can 100% take and benefit those domains with AI, with data skills, with all of those aspects. And we expect people to be able to go back to the jobs you were doing before at a higher paid rate, we would hope, using the data skills that you're learning from this course to be able to change how you do that work. So whether or not people go and become teachers and either shift to being a mathematics or a computing teacher in the country, you absolutely could do that. Or you could just still be one of the teachers that you're doing, but using the data disciplines, understand how your students are performing and how they're going to perform throughout. Okay, Hamyoon's going to be talking to you tomorrow about some of his work that he's done in learner analytics and analysing student performance progression and things, and you can do incredible things with data and trying to work out who's going to perform and who needs support. So those are our 3 possible exit routes there. In terms of course fees, it's worth highlighting the course fees taken from the website as of a couple of days ago are £10,000 for UK students and £16,300 for international students. Now, you might have some burning questions going on there. I've generally have these ones coming along over the last couple of years, so I've just put them in frequently asked questions so that we get them all in one place. But if you've got any specific other questions, pop them in the chat now and we'll try and go through those. So, first one, what if I've not done any programming before? This course is designed for you. Okay, we are going to teach you the foundations of programming in terms of that computing for AI module. We're going to do some programming this week. We're going to share with you the free online link to that data science, Python for data science course from IBM that you can then go through, and you just need experience and practice. So this is a dual thing that we're going to provide lots of skills and teaching and support for you. But a lot of the weight is going to be on you to make sure that you're spending time. And you are the same way as if you were learning any new skill. If you were learning the piano, I would expect you to spend a few hours each day if you were trying to become an expert in it or a master's level proficiency at it, you would have to sit in front of that piano and start playing the keys over and over. You're going to need to get sat in front of that computer and get typing and programming and coding and doing the things that we tell you to do and beyond. But you absolutely 100% can achieve. And some of the people who've come onto this course with low or no programming skill have achieved great things, done some incredible master's level projects, and are doing some great work now. Next question is about computers. So lots of people ask me about what computer they should buy if they're buying a new computer for the course, or if their computer is okay. It's really hard for us to say, and ultimately we aren't formally allowed to give any endorsements necessarily, because it's a product that you'd be buying, and would that be our fault if we told you to buy something and it was wrong? Now, if you have the funds, buying something that is a relatively high spec from a good, well-known brand is always a generally reliable thing to do. They generally have good warranties and systems if something breaks or goes wrong. So I personally use an Apple Mac because the university bought that for me very kindly for a project work that I was doing. Lots of people use Lenovo's at the Birmingham City University. There's Dell's are a good option as well, and lots of the other top brands, HP. You know, there's all of these different top brands that are well known from any high street chain or online store. If you can get one that has a high level of RAM, or random access memory, because that'll make your running the code work quite well. If you've got plenty of money, then look into something with a graphical processing unit, so GPU, because then you'll be able to do the cutting edge AI stuff really well on your own computer. But we do have some free online resources, and we're going to be using Google Colab this week, and which is a free online programming resource. It's dead easy to use, which is why none of you need any sort of computing requirements for this week. Everything's going to be done online in the cloud in terms of the programming, so that you can just code it all up in there, and we've created the labs for you so that you can run through those. So we'll use that a bit on the course wherever possible, but also you can use BCU's own computing resources too. So in terms of iPad, you've asked earlier, so I don't believe you can run Python effectively on an iPad or any tablet device, because the operating systems they use, they're restricted, and it's more like a Python emulator rather than an actual Python programming language that you have on a normal computer. So handheld things don't tend to work, but have a look into it, and maybe you can, if they've updated or changed in the last year and a half since I last checked. So next question, can I work and study? This is a difficult one for us, okay? Because you're coming on to study an expensive course at a time where there's a cost of living crisis throughout the whole world. So I 100% get that you might need to work to try and help fund your studies. What I would come back to is the fact that we have this teaching timetable, yeah? So you need to make sure that the days when you're on campus, you are 100% dedicated to coming onto campus and attending those, okay? Missing just one day's worth of session can really put you at disadvantage for completing the assignments. But beyond that, all the self-directed activities, preparing for an assignment, all of those things take a lot of time. And this is the master's level, okay? Everyone who leaves this course with a master's level qualification, I am confident that they are, you know, have an effective grasp of AI skills, technologies, and will do us proud when they go and get a job. So you can work 100%, and we have people who work 3 days a week, who work some evenings, who work some weekends, who do those aspects. But they absolutely push themselves 100% to make sure that they're doing those class activities and things. So you've got to make sure that your work fits around your studies, and we very much would like these studies to be the primary focus rather than your work being the primary focus. I know that's not easy for everyone, and you'll have some split allegiances there, but ultimately we want to make sure that you can achieve here and that you don't struggle with the work that we're setting you. Okay. The next question I'm often asked is about scholarship restrictions. Now, I mentioned this before, but I'll just re-highlight that. So the scholarships are open for application to female, black and disabled learners who are from the UK or home applicants. If you're not considered a home applicant, unfortunately, you're not eligible for the scholarship at BCU. Okay, you might be at other OFS affiliated institutions who have these scholarships, but at BCU you have to be considered a home applicant. So I'm sorry if that's disappointing for any of our international attendees here, but unfortunately that's just the way that BCU has set up this scholarship because of the core mission of the university. Okay. The next question I have is, what about the C word, and by that I mean COVID. Okay, it's affected all of us massively over the last few years. Now, in terms of the teaching for the course, we are 100% planning to be face-to-face teaching as normal, or as normal as the world is now, post lockdowns and things like that, and restrictions in terms of COVID. So we will have lectures live, we will have labs live, face-to-face, and we're doing all those things as if COVID had not happened, as much as possible. Anyone who wants to wear a mask and to abide by all of those safety restrictions, you can do so 100% with our support. If you are testing positive for COVID or do come symptomatic, then we would ask that you make sure you are formally tested and have that testing requirement satisfied, and then isolate per government guidance at that time to make sure that you limit contagion from that. Okay. Ultimately, if we do have to go into another lockdown for whatever reason, whether it's COVID, whether it's monkeypox, whether it's whatever causes that, don't panic. Okay. Lots of courses and students complained about the provision they were given by universities. Not so much at BCU, and definitely not on this course. Okay, our support went up a notch when COVID hit and when restrictions and lockdown hit. And although we transitioned very naturally to moving and teaching online, we made sure that there was additional provision going in there. Additional provision in terms of support for assessments, for teaching, for the labs, for everything that we could do. We made sure we stepped up a gear and supported our learners even more than 100% that they would have had on the course. Okay, so please don't panic about what might happen in the worst case from a COVID point of view. Okay, I've got a question that's come up in the chat, and if you've got any other questions, please feel free to drop them there. I'm trying to keep an eye on that. So Azizat, you've asked, can we get a recorded version of this hackathon in our emails? 100%, yeah. So this session right now is being recorded. It's also being transcribed. So I will send out an email link at the end of each day that has those for everyone to be able to review, to watch back, and to be able to look at if you can't attend a session. So those videos will all be uploaded to our YouTube channel, and then you can go and watch them there. Okay. You can also, if there's other people that you know who are interested in this course perhaps, and they couldn't attend this hackathon, but you think you wanted to share them with her, just please feel free to share those links out beyond. Okay. Do we have any other questions so far? Whereas Mariam and I have talked an awful lot. We're getting there with the slides, I promise. We're almost there.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
I think you know me because I was in your class in data structure and algorithms. I'm in second year of computer systems, and I want to ask a couple of questions. How you talk about the scholarships, and as I'm the student in BCU, can I have the scholarship? And I'm an international student. You said the international student can't have the scholarship. So
unfortunately, no. So even if you're a student currently studying at BCU, if you're international, you would be considered as an international applicant, and therefore you wouldn't be eligible for the scholarship. It's worth mentioning as well, for home applicants, you could be eligible for the scholarship, and you can still claim the postgraduate study loan as well to support you from a maintenance point of view. So you can get the scholarship and apply for both. But lots of people who apply have told me before that they were ineligible for that. So the scholarship actually did help support them through the studies. Okay. So we've got a question from Sam. Oh, sorry. Did you have more?
I'm sorry. Yeah. About the starting and finishing date of this class. Today is the starting date, and I think 23rd of July is the finish date for this class. Is it right or not?
Yeah. So we finish on Friday afternoon. That's when we'll announce the winners of the hack.
And we have 2 days on campus, maybe in Millennium Point or maybe in the STEAM House. That's okay?
No, everything is online for all of our international attendees. So we've made sure that it's all run online through Teams. You've got one link for the whole week.
Oh, okay. So the on campus is extra. It's not something necessary.
Yeah, so you don't have to be on campus for any of the hackathon. We're running it all online.
That's okay. That's okay. And what about the masters? What if I want to continue my bachelor's in computer systems and computer science? I'm sorry, computer science, and then choose maybe major related to AI in my masters.
You absolutely could do that. So we have other masters at BCU in terms of a master's in advanced computer science in big data analytics and things for people who've got that computing background. We've got conversion courses like this one in terms of artificial intelligence, which is specifically focused on that field. So you'd learn far more of the AI skills and things than you would as one module perhaps on advanced computer science or on big data analytics. So we're really focused on AI in this course, and it's a conversion, so people who don't have that computing background. And we also have a master's, which is a conversion course on computer science as well, so at the master's level for people who haven't done any computing beforehand.
That's okay, thank you very much.
Okay, so we've got a couple more questions in the chat. So we've been asked by Sat, do you have a part-time option for this course? We don't at the moment. So every time we've thought about the part-time route and about online learning, distance learning only routes and things like that, we've gone out to the market in essence to say, would people want to enroll in this? And actually only a small number of people would. Also with the block delivery teaching style, that makes it quite hard to do at a part-time rate. So we wouldn't be able to do it alongside the current teaching mechanism. So it would be have to be a self-standing course in and of itself, separate from the current MSc AI full-time rate. So we'd lose a lot of the benefits and things that we've rolled into that. So that we don't have a part-time route and we don't have a January entry either. We just have one September entry. Okay. Another question we've got is whether or not we have a one-on-one mentoring system in place for students. So in terms of mentoring, there's a couple of different ways that can work, and it depends what the mentoring is required and what support is required. And I'm just going to badge mentoring up in terms of the wider area of student support. So in terms of support, every one of you will be allocated a personal tutor. For most of you, that will be myself or Mariam or someone from the teaching team. So you'll have a academic contact you can go to if you've got any concerns, not necessarily concerns about a module, because you'd go to your teaching team about that, you'd ask the lecturer about that, for instance. But if you've got concerns about your academic study, stuff going on, or need some support about the whole course in general, then you go to your personal tutor, and that would be your first port of call. And there's the admin team as well, who are absolutely brilliant at supporting people with any sort of administrative issue or non-academic issue you've got. They can help you 100% through that. Beyond that, if you're suffering with any sort of well-being issues in terms of finances or struggling to keep up with the course, we've got student success advisors who can meet with you, who were BCU students before, so know the ins and outs of the university and how we teach and things, but can help walk you through that and mentor you through that. And then if you're struggling with any sort of mental health aspects as well, then we can support you with our well-being team, who are award-winning, they are outstanding. When there's been students, not just from this course, but from all the courses and things that I'm involved with, where students have struggled from severe issues from mental health, whether it's major or minor, they want to know and they want to help, and they've done some great work with those people. So the most important thing you can do if you are struggling or need some support in any way is to reach out, whether to myself, to Mariam, to some of the teaching teams, to the admin team, to someone, and we'll make sure that there's that whole care package put around you to support you through that. So hopefully that's answered your mentoring question. Okay, then we've got some more questions coming in. So Chris, no, we don't have a January intake for the course. It's just a September intake because of the block delivery mechanism and the way that works. Okay, we'll rattle through the next few. So is there a research assistant position available whilst you're going through the course? So in terms of a paid position, no, there wouldn't be. Generally, you wouldn't be able to apply for a research assistant position. But if you wanted to get experience in a particular area, then the thing to do is to come to me and say, Ian, I've got a bit of experience before. I've done this boot camp or that programming thing or this undergraduate degree in computing or whatever. That's fine. If you've got that experience and you want to get more experience or exposure to a certain area of AI, you come and tell me. So one of our current students, who's been outstanding and towards the top of the class, each of the modules that he's done, he's really interested in doing image analysis with AI. So looking at pictures and trying to automatically classify what's in them. So he got in touch very early on, and I put him in touch with one of our world-leading researchers who's an absolute expert at using AI to look at X-rays and scans from patients in the medical domain. So this student has then gone on and written a research paper with Mohammed Abdul-Samea, and they've published that. And as far as going for a future career in research, if you can get something published whilst on your master's course, that shows an incredible drive and dedication. So that student is going to put himself at the forefront for any future research positions or PhDs and things because of his work there. So we can do that. If there's an area you're interested in, we just need to know, and we'll put you in touch with the academic who is doing work in that field, and they can partner with you. And it doesn't have to wait until the dissertation phase. It can be done at any point throughout the course. So, Adado, how do you go about adding placements to your application as you really love the placements opportunity? Get in touch with the admissions team that you've been working with so far, and you can transfer on and off from the MSc AI with professional placement. So if you're on it at the moment and you'd like to remove that option, you can, and just go straight for graduate employment. But if you're not confident in yourself getting that graduate level employment straight away, register for that, and we can support you with that. Alex has asked, do we have good collaboration with the built environment department where we can try our construction related AI projects in their labs? So it depends exactly what you want to do, and it'll all depend on their own availability for you using their labs, their physical labs and things. But we have a strong relationship with built environment, yes. I co-teach sometimes along with some of the teaching team from this course on the MSc digital construction. So we've got strong links with the course leader there who can help facilitate some things. Okay, then we've got a question from Fadalat. I'm very sorry if I'm pronouncing people's names wrong. So from Fadalat, I'm currently in the UK but not a student. Am I eligible for the scholarship? So Fadalat, if you are considered as a home applicant with BCU, then you can be eligible for the scholarship. Okay, in terms of numbers, we have 8 scholarships of £10,000 left for September's intake. Okay, the next scholarship panel will meet in August, and I will tell you throughout this week how you can apply for that. But the most important thing is to email, and I'll put the email in the chat thread here, msc-ai@bcu.ac.uk. So you need to email that email address and register your interest in applying for a scholarship. Finally, Alex has asked, do you have partnership with surveying instrumentation firms like some of these? No, we don't formally have any partnerships that I'm aware of with those, but we can always start things off, okay? And we can help with the introductions and getting things rolling. I've got a project that's just kicking off now, actually, where a student got in touch with a company and thought it would be a cool thing to do a project with them. It turns out they've done student projects before. They hadn't got any prior relationship with BCU or with that student, but he just reached out, got in touch, and within a week got himself a call with the CEO and the head of data and the head of IT, brought me along, and then we're starting a project with them now. So his dissertation project is going to be looking at automatic classification applied to their company. There's some non-disclosure agreements in place, and IP or intellectual property agreements, so there's privacy, and I can't share exactly which project's on, but if you're interested and you want to work in this particular field, just find a company and then we'll help you get started with them. So Alex, you saw on the website that MSc with placement is £11,000. So that extra £1,000 for home students will be based on the placement. If you don't do it with placement, then it's just the £10,000. So the course fees that I've listed here are without placement. And I think I've covered off all the questions then in the chat. If you have any other questions later on, we are 100% happy to cover those. Fadla, what is a home applicant, please? So a home applicant would be someone who is a UK national or has a long-stinted visa leave to remain in this country, either indefinite leave to remain or a long-time limited one, so that when they apply, they're asked to pay the home fees of £10,000 and not the international fees. Okay. Ultimately, if the admissions team say that you only have to pay the £10,000, then as far as we're concerned, you're a home applicant. So, one of the things I wanted to share was a testimony that we received from one of the students, and I think it's quite important and pertinent. And when we asked them, what advice would you give someone like yourself who might be thinking about studying under postgraduate conversion course program, what was it that they found helpful? And it was really nice to receive this response, really, that the only advice they would give is don't be scared of learning new techniques and definitely get out of your comfort zone. No matter how difficult the time or choices you have to make in life, if you want to complete the course successfully. It was difficult for her, as well as specifically manage her little one. So she'd not long had a child before starting on the course. So studying this conversion course If you put in the hard work required, then this course will definitely be the right choice for anyone wishing to learn and pursue a career in data science. Okay. So, ultimately, why are we doing this? Well, you want to do it for the money, ultimately, don't we? Or the career, the change, the life. But money is often a big part of it for us. So what do AI experts earn? Well, from total jobs in 2011 to 2019, we've seen massive growth in terms of technology-driven organizations. The average salary for people after they've worked for a couple of years as AI experts, whether data scientists, data analysts, but AI is a core element of their job, the average salary seems to be about £67,500 when they surveyed 266 people working in this industry. And there's some error bars either side of that, in terms of 52 to 87, but people earn quite a lot from a career in AI. Okay, it's a challenging, fun, exciting, dynamic career on the whole, but it pays well ultimately. So it's our job to make sure that you've got the best chance of getting that job when you graduate. There's a big question about what AI experts do, and we've done some taster sessions in the past as well, but ultimately you're going to learn over this week what AI experts actually do in terms of their job. We're going to be teaching you some of those foundational skills and fundamentals in terms of data cleaning, data processing, data wrangling, setting up models, specifying those models, and designing those to solve a problem. Although data science as a broad field is considered a science, there is an artistic element to do it. In terms of designing the perfect solution to that problem. There's a flair to that, and there's a skill that you get better and better at as time progresses, rather than just being a core science where here's the problem, you solve it like that. Okay, so you're going to be learning about that over the next few days of the hackathon. Applications are open for 2022. I don't know why it says 2021. We don't do time machine or historic applications. So for 2022 and for 2023 as well, if you want to take a year out and make sure that you're ready to come and apply for the course. We're planning for full face-to-face delivery. I've mentioned about the scholarships, and our email address is listed here. So the last thing I needed to talk about in this introductory session is a bit of housekeeping with how we're going to run our practical sessions in the next few days. Okay, and we're going to do this using Google Colab. The way that you can sign up and register for Google Colab, it's really simple. I'm going to run through it on these slides, and you've all been sent the link. I'm going to make sure I email out the link now that I'll have on these slides how you do that, because you will need that for Aisha's session this afternoon so that you can run through the lab sessions yourselves. So if you go to Google and search for Google Colab, the first link you see will be Google Colab. Funny enough, they put it themselves right at the top. You click on that, and it takes you to a page that looks like this if you're not signed into a Google account. If you are signed in, it'll look slightly different, but you'll still be able to use it, don't worry. So you can see that I'm not signed in because it's got the blue sign in button here. Now, what is Colab? Or Collaboratory, or Colab for short, allows you to write and execute Python in your internet browser, so in Google Chrome or Firefox or Internet Explorer, whatever you're using. Or Internet Explorer is dead, out of date, in the Microsoft Internet browser. So you don't need to configure it. You can use their computing requirements and resources and stuff, Google's own computers, Google's own GPUs or graphical processor units to speed up your code. It's great. And it's easy to share your stuff in and collaborate with other people. Now, what you need to do then when you get to this page is to click sign in. Now you can either sign in if you have a Google account already set up, whether you've got a Gmail account or a Google account in a different external email. If not, click create account. To create account, you need to just put in your first name, last name. Now you can create a new Gmail account, or you can click use my current email address instead, so that when I did that, I managed to put in my BCU email address. So I have a work Google account through BCU here. So ian.rice@bcu.ac.uk is my email address. Put in a password and confirmed it, and click next. Then it wants a phone number. You have to put in a phone number, I believe now, so it's no longer optional. But if you're not comfortable doing that, then find a way around that. Ultimately, you put in your date of birth, your gender, and then click next. Go through the privacy notice, click next. Finally, you have to confirm, and then you get that what is collaboratory page in the background with this orange paned window to start with, orange and white window. And that's going to be our main point that we're using. So you're going to have lab exercises all sent to you as files that end in .ipynb or .ipython notebook. So ipynb as the end part of the file. And I shall tell you which file you need to upload to, later on today. So all you need to do when you get to this point is to click on the upload button, choose the file, and then send it up. So I've talked an awful lot. You've all listened very well and asked some great insightful questions. Thank you very much for your time so far this morning. We're going to take about a 5-minute break now, just to get a cup of break, grab a drink, make sure that we're all hydrated and not too hot and everything, before we move on to the next part of our day, which is my brief talk on AI in general, really. So AI for good and the position of AI in the world. Okay. If you have any questions, you can drop them in the chat, or you can just leave them and wait until we're ready for the next session, and then you can ask them then as I'm talking about applied AI there. Okay. Thank you very much for your attention, for listening, and we'll start again at 11:35. Okay, I'll pause the recording there, and then we'll re-record the next session. So all the recordings will be emailed out as links later on this evening.